Welcome back. There is a ceasefire in Gaza, but does it mean the war is over? And what will the next days be like for people in Gaza? Until the fragile ceasefire, Arab leaders were struggling to find a common position on how to halt the war. Now they're struggling to find their position on the new situation. So just to quickly recap, 2 days after the emergency summit on Gaza that was held in Doha, a rival summit took place in Sharm el-Sheikh. This one had a different agenda, less accommodating towards Hamas and thus pleasing countries such as Egypt and Saudi Arabia. There were no Israelis attending, but a European delegation. The big question is, which of the two summits will be the basis for a third one taking place in Kuwait? Well, still with us are our guests in Jerusalem, Mahdi Abdelhadi, and in Beirut, Robert Fisk. Mahdi Abdelhadi, it seems as if the battle lines are quite clear in terms of two different camps. I wonder, are Palestinians and Israelis fast running out of credible mediators?
Well, definitely the Israelis are not looking for mediators. The Israelis succeeded in having, at the last minute, George Bush administration to sign a special security arrangement, not only for Israel, but for the whole Middle East, taking into consideration the future weight of Iran in the region. And the Israelis has been always using what came to be mediator, third party, quartet, conferences, in order to take more land and to crush the Palestinians and to transfer what is left of Palestine in terms of people only, to the Arab house. And particularly what is really happening in Gaza was a very clear message, not only to crush the resistance movement embodied in Hamas and the Islamic trends, but as well as to involve Egypt day by day, step by step, ethically, politically, security-wise, geographically, name it, responsible for Gaza. This is a fact of life. But for the Palestinians, unfortunately, we are very much divided and very much crushed on the West Bank as well as in Gaza. Definitely Fatah today has no vision and no leadership and a crisis of institution where to go from here, and they did nothing for the last 22 days. On the contrary, the PA was crushing any Palestinian attempt to rise, to challenge the Israelis and to compete exactly what is happening in Gaza. We are suffering definitely in Israelization of Jerusalem and closed city as well, with the wall, with the settlement. It is a long story. But the issue of particular now, if we were talking about history and 1919 conference, today we have to compare it with 1948, another partition of Palestine, a very clear partition of Palestine with the eyes and the support with the Arabs and European as well. The clear separation, the clear division of Palestine, West Bank and Gaza, and today they are dealing exclusively in Gaza in terms of humanitarian and security issues. And definitely this summit in Sharm el-Sheikh will look only for humanitarian aid and not mentioning about security, not mentioning about self-determination or Palestinian future. But what lies ahead tomorrow in Kuwait summit, whether this division or this partition of Palestine, two pieces of land and two different administrations to run it under the umbrella of Egyptian, European, as well as Israeli security force, it lies ahead today for the Palestinians to decide, can we afford to continue divided, humiliated, and not challenging the Israelis? Okay. The question is definitely for Hamas. I would agree that it's not a question of winning or losing the battle and the confrontation. Hamas rise exactly like Hezbollah, resistance movement, national pride, and willing to say no to the Israeli occupiers. And this is meeting the need of the society. This is the culture of the Middle East. This is the culture of the Arab house as well as the Palestinians.
Okay, let's get Robert Fisk's view. Mahdi Abdelhadi had echoes of 1948. He said there might be another partition now. Sadly, there might not be a two-state solution, as he mentioned. A three-state solution is something on the cards. What do you make of that?
Well, that's pretty well what we've got, isn't it? We've got two rival governments on the Palestinian side and one government that might be about to lose power to another one on the Israeli side. Look, I think it's a broader argument than just this. The problem is that all these great and good men gathering in Sharm el-Sheikh, these wonderful, portentous statesmen from the West in particular, they should be dealing with the real issues of the Middle East, which is really about the subject called justice. Instead of that, they're dealing with food and tunnels, for God's sakes, really. Now, what I think in the Middle East, after so many years here, more than 3 decades, is that what everyone tells me they want in the Middle East is justice, whether it be about the justice or injustice of dispossession, whether it be about the crust of secret policemen and secret prisons and torture, which most of the Arab regimes impose on their own people, with our Western support, of course. That's what people ask for. They don't ask for human rights, though they'd like some. And they don't ask for democracy, though we keep throwing it at them and then beating them when they don't vote for the right people. But they want justice, and that is what Sharm el-Sheikh should be about, and it's what Doha should have been about, and it's what Kuwait should be about. And again, it's not. The two Arab summits are about rivalries between Arabs, and the Sharm el-Sheikh summit is to clean the hands of Western politicians. That is the problem.
Interestingly put. Mahdi Abdel Hadi, on the ground, Israeli ground troops are still deep into the heart of Gaza. They may have declared a unilateral ceasefire, but their troops in Gaza. Is there a realistic fear amongst Palestinians that Israel might officially reoccupy Gaza?
Well, Israelis are occupying Gaza, whether I like it or not. Israelis forces are already on Gaza, and they cleared 5 square kilometers already within the Gaza Strip, and divided Gaza to 3 areas, and they are in full control in terms of security and movement of people and goods, and they will not allow humanitarian aid or United Nations institution, in particular UNRWA, to move to any direction without their permission. The question of today, Israel did not end its occupation for the last 41 years. On the contrary, they are taking over the West Bank completely in terms of land and controlling the people, and today they are crushing any resistance, any national pride, any leadership in Gaza, and forcing the Egyptian, and the Egyptians are reluctant to take it over, so they are bringing over the European. These wonderful people, as Robert Fisk mentioned, meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh today, they were supposed to be from day one in Gaza. If today they are not able to go, United Nations or anybody else, and they are using their fellows and employees, at least the minimum they can do, stop Israeli atrocities. Today we created a new culture of resistance, new culture of hate, new culture of revenge, and the gap is huge between Israelis and Palestinians. Definitely the two-state solution is not there. Definitely we are not going to melt within the Israeli system and live in one-state solution, an apartheid system as it is today in the West Bank and Jerusalem in particular. These Europeans who are very much interested of the security and safety of Israelis and created Israel on the Palestinian land, if they are really interested in future of Israel, they have to hold the Israeli military machine, and they have to change what is really happening within the Israeli politics.
Okay.
Today the Israelis not only hate us, but they are interested in continuing killing the Palestinians. This idea, this thinking of killing the Palestinians, killing innocent people, children and women, and destroying their houses and their schools is an endless Israeli agenda today in Olmert and Livni and Barak, and tomorrow with Netanyahu definitely will be the first. This is only a step to awaken the people. Wake up, European, wake up, American. Maybe Obama can make a difference, but Palestinians will continue to suffer and bleed, and the Israelis will have this black, huge spot on their humanitarian ethics and values and principles as Jewish people.
Okay, gentlemen, it's been fascinating hearing your thoughts. We have run out of time. In Jerusalem, Mahdi Abdel Hadi, and in Beirut, Robert Fisk. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And thank you so much, the viewer, for joining us here on Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions. Our email address is insidestory@aljazeera.net. Now, just to show you some of the feedback that we have received, we've received some feedback from the Brazilian cartoonist Carlos Latouf, who dedicated this particular cartoon specifically to Inside Story. It has the Gazans in a trench. It relates to the media being blacked out and kept out of Gaza, with only Al Jazeera in Gaza. That's Carlos Latouf, as a means of thanks for portraying one of his earlier cartoons. Thank you for that, Carlos. Keep the emails flooding in. Bye-bye for now.